plays a lot of fucking games. I said old world gamer plays a lot of fucking games. He plays all night and day. He plays his life away. Said old world gamer plays a lot of fucking games.
Hey everybody, it's Stephanie Old World Gamer, and welcome to Depression Quest. I literally just opened this up, so let's just have a quick look. Interactive nonfiction about living with depression by Zoe Quinn, Patrick Lindsay, and Isaac Shankler. Show menu, escape. Okay, Depression Quest is a game that deals with living with depression in a very literal way. This game is not meant to be fun or lighthearted experience. If you're currently suffering from the illness and are easily triggered, please be aware this game uses stark depiction of people in very dark places. If you are suicidal, please stop playing the game and visit the suicide prevention hotline to talk to someone. Okay, that's a little bit excessive. The goal of this game is twofold. Firstly, we want to illustrate as clearly as possible what depression is like, so that it may be better understood by people without depression. Hopefully this can be something to spread awareness and fight against social stigma and misunderstandings that depression sufferers face. Secondly, our hope is that... Okay, let's go. Let's view controls. Keyboard, scroll pages up and down, select next option, tab. Select previous option, shift tab. Confirm action, enter. Rewind passage, backspace, advance passage, shift, backspace. Apparently I could have used the game controller. I did not realize that. Let's see what we got here. One second. Okay, and I'm back, and apparently, I'll just press begin. That's pretty much all I've changed. So, it is early on a Monday morning. You are a mid-20s human being. Thank you. That's nice to be again. You have a significant other named Alex, who you are rather fond of, that you have been seeing exclusively for the past few months. The rest of your social circle consists of a variety of friends and acquaintances, some of whom you met at your day job, which is a little boring but pays the rent. You'd like to be doing more with your life, as would your parents, but you're still in the process of figuring out what that means and how to go about it. You're also dealing with motivation issues that sometimes makes dealing with these things difficult. You feel like this is probably your fault, and on bad days you feel inwardly angry and down on yourself for being lazy. But you're not quite sure how you can break out of it, or how other people deal with these feelings and seem so very functional. You spend a lot of nights fixating on thinking about this, but never seem to do anything about it other than lose sleep. That sounds familiar. It's an unseasonably warm Wednesday evening. You've spent the past several hours at work. The past week or so, you've found your job motivational flagging more so than usual. You've been in a fog practically all day today, simply going through the motions without realizing even what you've been doing half the time, and yet time seemed to be moving at half speed. You're so checked out that when your boss approaches you to tell you that it's dead and you can go home early, it barely registers. As you walk home, the streets hiss from the recent rainfall. You know that your significant other will be in classes until late, another couple hours at least. You briefly consider using the serendipitous solitude to catch up on that project that you've been working on haphazardly for the past few months. As soon as you think about the work that awaits you at home, you can feel the panic creeping in from the back of your brain, unbidden. All you can think about is how incredibly far behind you are, and the amount of work seems nothing less than insurmountable. By the time you arrive home and out of your comfortable work clothes, the stress is weighing down on you like a heavy, wet wool blanket. Your computer seems to be staring you down from your desk. You want to sit down and work, but the mere thought of trying to work sends your stress levels flying. More than anything, you feel suddenly and absolutely exhausted and feel a strong desire to simply hide in bed. Oh, do I? Oh, apparently I can't order food, grab a drink, and hunker down for a night of work. Reluctantly sit down at your desk and try to make yourself do something. Turn on TV telling yourself you just need a quick half hour to unwind from work. Crawl into bed, you're so stressed and overwhelmed you couldn't possibly accomplish anything anyways. I don't know what those gray sections are down below. The music seems to be getting a little more darker. But anyways, I'm going to try and select the selections that I would do from a normal life. I would try and sit down at my desk and try and make myself do something. I don't know if it would be that project, but I would try and do something. You make a stop. You make a stop at your fridge, turn your favorite playlist on, and sit down to start working. You open the last file you were working on, and as soon as your hands touch the keyboard, your mind goes blank. The other thing I'm wondering now is if those selections were supposed to be the same. The first one that was scratched out and the one that I chose. They didn't take it out yet? I don't know. This might be an alpha. I have no idea. All the motivation ideas you had when you arrived home vanish in a flash. Your brain seizes up and you find yourself physically incapable of any sort of productive thought. You take a break to loosen up, popping into your email inbox, Twitter, and various other internet-based distraction fodder. So far, this is starting to feel more and more like someone's following my life, and I don't like how this is going. Frustratingly, this pattern continues throughout the course of the evening. As soon as you try and focus on work, your brain diverts all its energy away from the task at hand. While you keep flipping back to your work, you find the sheer mental effort involved in keeping your brain focused is overwhelming and tiring. A few Twitter arguments, YouTube videos, and sparse amounts of actual work later, your playlist flips back to track 1 and the ice in your glass is all but melted. Diluting the last dregs of the Coke you were nursing, you look at the clock and realize that a few hours have passed since you sat down to work and you've made negligible progress. I can just wake up early tomorrow and catch up, you think to yourself as you climb into bed, even though you know that never actually happens. Nick, you are very depressed. You spend a large amount of time sleeping, hating yourself, and have very little energy or motivation. You are not currently seeing a therapist. You are not currently taking medication for depression. Okay, I guess that's what it's supposed to do. So far, this is a weird, why is this all just text-based? And now my nose is starting to feel stuffed up. No, that's great. It's a mild Friday afternoon. Alex calls you from one of her classes telling you that there's going to be a really awesome birthday party tonight at her apartment that one of her roommates is throwing. You've hung out with this roommate a few times with Alex, and you get along well enough, but aren't particularly close. You don't have to work in the morning and have nothing else in particular to do that night. Or tonight. You're feeling kind of run down, but you have been fatigued most of the time lately. You mention that you're feeling ill because you're not sure how else to explain those feelings to someone else. You say that you aren't sure that you can make it tonight. There's a second of silence over the phone, but you swear you can hear the sound of your partner's face fall. She tries to convince you anyways. You haven't seen her this week, and she sounds pretty insistent that you come over. She even drops a few suggestively worded hints that you can stay over with them tonight after the party. Ooh. Them? I'm just kidding. Let's see. Shake off your funk and go have a good time with your girlfriend. Apparently, you can't choose that. But if I agree to go, I bet it would say that I shake off my funk. Well, I mean, hey, if it's gonna, have the promise of staying at her place and maybe more, then you should agree to go. You agree to go even though you're really not feeling social. You know it's important to Alex and you'd really like to see her. Seeing her does make you feel better sometimes. And you hope this is the case tonight, even if it does mean dealing with all the usual social anxiety. Can't say I've ever felt social anxiety too much, unless I'm in a group of people who I don't know whatsoever and they're nothing like me. Like all of them. But I just noticed that the music's changed, so. The time to leave rolls around. You grab your overnight bag. Alex's apartment is a short walk away, and there are already people hanging out on the porch. You feel your chest tighten as you approach the building and try to steel your nerves. You quickly find your partner chatting away with the birthday girl, and Alex immediately lightens up when she sees you. I'm so happy you came. I wasn't sure if you were going to make it. A young man taps her on the shoulder, and she turns back to you to apologize and let you know that you have something. They have to do something for the party. Alex hands you a beer, plants a kiss on your cheek before going off to deal with whatever came up. As you look around, you don't see anyone else you recognize. Okay, awkwardly stand in the same spot, unsure of what to do. Put your bag in Alex's room and avoid the crowd in there for a while. Cling to the back wall, sip your beer, and wait for your girlfriend to return. See the drink in earnest, hoping it makes you less uncomfortable. It's just, I guess, yeah. No need to feel awkward or anything. Just, go to the back wall there, sip on your beer, wait for her to come back. As Alex leaves, you're not quite sure what to do with yourself. Standing in the middle of the room leaves you feeling kind of exposed. You don't feel ballsy enough to randomly approach any of the groups of people clustered together talking. You head to a clear spot on the back wall and lean against it. For some reason, this always feels a lot more secure. You scan the party for a familiar face or any sign of your partner and come up with nothing. Not sure of what else to do, and worrying that you must look creepy just standing there watching everyone, you take out your phone to busy yourself. 20 semi-tedious games of Bejeweled Blitz later, your partner returns. You spend the rest of the night with Alex, occasionally being introduced to people and nodding along with group conversations, even if you don't participate that much. At the end of the night, as you're falling asleep with your girlfriend in the crook of your arm, she thanks you again for coming. Half drunk, she confides that she thought you were going to flake out and was pleasantly surprised that you managed to come out. She says it lovingly, but you're not quite sure how you feel about that statement. I guess that was the music from the party. It's a little after noon on a muggy Saturday. Your mother has come over for a surprise visit, claiming loudly that she doesn't see you enough, so she decides to invite herself over. As you converse, she walks around your place, and you get the distinct impression that you're being inspected. Oh, that sounds familiar as well. Unfortunately, I don't talk to my mom anymore, so I don't have to deal with that. So what's going on with you lately? She asks abruptly. Taken somewhat aback with this left fielder, you tell her you're not sure what she means. She repeats the question, saying that you haven't seemed like yourself lately. She gestures to the dirty dishes piled in the sink and notes the fact that you haven't called or visited in a while. Whoa. Your reticence? I've never used that word before, that's fun. Your reticence only seems to spur her on more. She presses you, asking if you're having problems at work or with Alex, and you're beginning to feel increasingly battered by her sudden well-meaning but overwhelming inquisition. Under her questions, you become increasingly uncomfortable. You want to be able to explain to her how you've been feeling, but the truth is, you're not really sure yourself. Nothing horrific has happened at work with your significant other, or friends, or anything like that, but all the same, you can't deny that lately you've just felt drained and as though you're not really here. You wish you could tell your mother these things, but she hasn't been approachable about negative emotions in the past. She's the kind of person who holds the opinion that the solution to any problem is to simply try harder and maintain a positive attitude. A stance that has reared its head in past conversations when you've begun to explore the subject with her. You know she's unlikely to be understanding, and you feel the energy drain out of you when you imagine what would happen if you managed to blurt out everything you are feeling. What do you feel? I guess try to be honest. You attempt to tell your mother that how you're feeling despite initial misgivings that you have about doing so. Finding the right words for how you're feeling feels like trying to untangle Christmas lights searching for the dead bulb. In a cluttered mess, she watches you intently and audibly sighs before you can clearly articulate anything. Unfortunately, she reacts predictably. An attitude like that won't get you anywhere. You need to work harder at getting what you want instead of sitting around feeling sad about it. Nothing good will happen unless you make it happen. She isn't angry or spiteful as she tells you this. You try to explain that it's not a matter of that, but you can tell that you're not getting anywhere. The frustration chokes the words in your throat, and you give up on trying to push the subject further. You know she's giving you the advice that makes sense to her, and genuinely wants the best for you. However, she doesn't understand that it's not as simple as somehow deciding to be positive or work harder. It's that those things aren't viable options because of these feelings. You accept your defeat, and the conversation drifts on to other subjects. She leaves after chiding you to call her more often and take better care of yourself. You sigh heavily as you close the door behind her, spend the next few hours laying in bed, staring at the ceiling. It's a lazy Sunday morning. My God, why is this all text? I thought this was going to be like something more to it than this, but I guess it's going to be a text-based game. Yay! It's a lazy Sunday morning. You're idly clicking around online as your phone rings. Sam, a coworker of yours that you're friendly with, asks how you are and makes hurriedly small talk with you. You typically only ever talk to him on the phone when one of you needs a shift covered, so it's slightly awkward. You're waiting in anticipation for him to ask you to come in on short notice when he veers the conversation in a completely different direction. How do you feel about cats? He asks. Mine had kittens a few weeks ago, and I'm having an awfully hard time finding a home for the last one of the litter. You don't have any pets, right? It takes you a moment to process the new information, and you're caught off guard as he begins to earnestly try to sell you on the idea of taking the last kitten off his hands. It's not something that you had specifically considered before, but he seems fairly insistent. She's a real sweetheart, really loves people. She's got all her shots already taken care of, and the vet said she's healthy as a horse. I can bring her over by your place tonight if you're interested. You look around your apartment, try to picture Cat in it as he continues to tell you about how cute she is. You tell him that this is kind of all kind of sudden, and that you don't have anything for the kitten set up here. Oh, don't worry about that. I can bring over a litter box and food and all that, since you'd really be helping me out of a fix. It's the least I could do. I just don't want to have to put her in a shelter. You can't help but feel like you're being guilt-tripped, but you decide to give it some serious consideration. It does get awfully lonely around your apartment, and it might feel less empty with the cat around. However, since you've been feeling so down, it might not be a good idea to take on the responsibility of a cat, even if they are fairly low maintenance. Become a cat owner. You can use the companionship. Decline, you're not in a good enough place to take on more responsibility right now. Decline, you don't like cats. Again, why is number 2 scratched out? That's weird. Decline, you don't like cats. Yeah, I'm just gonna decline because I'm not in a good enough place to be taking more responsibility right now. I'm sorry, I just can't right now. I hope you find a good home for her. You sit through a few more sales pitch statements that border on guilt trips and rebuke them with fabricated excuses about your landlord not allowing pets before your coworker gives up and thanks you anyway. You wish him luck in finding a home for her, and as you hang up, you feel pangs of guilt as you imagine him having to put her in a shelter. You wonder if the chance of the kitten ending up in a shelter was worse than the chance of you being unable to care for an animal, and you feel pretty awful about yourself regardless. Oh, that's not good. Your apartment's emptiness feels a lot more palpable suddenly, and you wonder if you could have pulled it off. You consider getting a pet in the future after more careful consideration and preparation. The next day at work, you run into your coworker and breathe a sigh of relief as he informs you that he was able to find a good home for the kitten. She's probably way better off than she would be with me, you think. And, I should have had breakfast. It's late Friday afternoon. Quitting time is just around the corner. A bright, clear day is giving way to a still-tempered evening. You hear your coworkers all around you anxiously making plans for their evenings and weekends, but you're really looking forward to just going home and resting after what's turned out to be a very long and taxing work week. Before the end of your shift, you get a call from Alex. It seems a group of your mutual friends are heading out to a nearby pub for dinner and drinks to celebrate the end of the week, and they want to know if you'd like to come along. You tentatively tell her that you're emotionally exhausted from the work week, and a social outing like that would just take too much of you today. You encourage her to go and have a good time, since you know it's been a while since she's gone out with friends. But the effort feels futile, since you know that she isn't going to go without you. A couple hours later, the two of you find yourselves in a familiar position. On the couch, watching comedy shows on Netflix, a box of pizza open on the coffee table in front of you. And oh my god, this is very similar to, like, Zoe Quinn and Patrick Lindsay and Isaac Shankler, whichever you guys wrote this, you're pretty much detailing my life so far. This is kind of weird and crazy, and I guess more common than most people realize. As you look across the couch at her, you start to feel anxious. You feel bad about effectively forcing the two of you to stay in tonight again. While you are always appreciative of your partner's efforts to take your feelings into account and help make sure you're socially comfortable, you sincerely worry that you're holding her back from enjoying a more fulfilling relationship. While she does seem to enjoy spending time with you, as the two of you sit in comfortable, almost contented silence watching old shows you've seen 2 or 3 times before, your ever-increasing fear that your relationship is becoming one-sided weighs more and more heavily on you. You feel more than ever like a burden or a ward to her, and it's virtually impossible for you to see what value you could possibly offer to her in return. Excuse me. Worst of all, this nagging fear has made you feel more self-conscious than ever, withdrawing ever inwards, and you've started to pull away from Alex herself. I would probably ask if she's happy with the relationship. You look over at Alex, who hasn't noticed you watching her yet, and you try to parse the expression on her face. You worry that it's one of sheer boredom and bare tolerance. You wonder if she's thinking about all the fun things she could have been doing tonight if she wasn't trapped in this couch with you, ordering from one of the same 3 takeout places that you always order from. A sense of disappointing her creeps over you as you picture what the night could have been if you had just accepted the invitation she had made earlier. I know that this is a pretty boring Friday night for you. Are you really happy being with me? Being like this? She turns to look at you, forehead wrinkled. Why do you ask me that so often? Or why do you ask me that so often? You feel her body stiffen and pull away from yours just a little. Well, I mean, you start, but are unable to try and think of how to answer. I know it's not what you'd usually be up to. I don't know. I guess I get kind of worried that you're getting bored sometimes. That's what I would say. Alex sighs. Look, if that were the case, I would let you know. I don't think you're boring. You're more of a homebody than I am. I'm learning how to deal with that. Deal with it, you think? Repeating it in your mind. Does she see you as a problem to be dealt with? Try to pick her reply apart in your mind, and all of your conclusions lead to your previous worry that you're holding her back. You begin thinking that the phrasing was chosen without too much deliberation, and that despite her attempts at reassuring you, this slip of the tongue revealed her true feelings. As you picture how much fun she would be having right now if you had only accepted her invitation and managed to somehow get over your reservations and anxieties, despite not knowing how you would go about that, she cuddles back up to you. Thanks for putting up with me, you say, staring at the TV without actually watching it. She sighs in the spine. Oh, God. Oh, this is how... Oh, I'm deeply depressed. Even activities you used to enjoy hold little or no interest for you, and you exist in a near constant state of lethargy. Oh, it's a breezy Sunday afternoon. You've allowed Amanda, an old friend from school that is in town for the weekend, to talk you into leaving the house for a coffee and catch up. Okay, that's weird. You meet her in a small cafe and talk about what you've been up to since you've last seen each other, and you can't help but feel like they're a lot more accomplished and interesting than you are while listening to them talk about their life after school. It's so weird that there's noises in the background. When it's your turn to brief them on your activities, you feel anxious and ashamed, and give a very abbreviated version. You try to talk about your job as little as possible, and you feel incredibly boring while you describe it, despite her expressing sincere interest in you and your life. Amanda has known you long enough to read your mood and tone of voice. She leans in to ask a question while gently touching your hand, a look of genuine concern on her face. What's wrong? And with that, I'm going to end the episode here for today, everybody. I hope you are enjoying this series. I was not expecting it to be a text-based game. As it looks right now, I probably would have liked at least video to go with this, whether it's live video or animated kind of video or a movie kind of thing to watch, so you can just watch the interaction with the people as well. But I guess that's all you can do. So, anyways, thank you all for watching. I'm Stephanie Overworld Gamer, and I will see you all soon for a new episode. See ya!